Hello there. This is an EX800. It's a keyless version of the Poly 800 by Korg. And I'm going to show you how to use it to a degree. So when you're programming an analog synthesizer, there's four main components. The first is the set of oscillators, normally one or two, but sometimes more. They make the noise. Sometimes I have a noise oscillator as well. In this case, we do. They go through the filter, which takes out the amount of frequencies you dictate, more or less. And then you have envelopes and LFOs. The envelopes are, you apply them to the filter or the oscillator to apply change over time. So if you apply it to a filter, it'll change how the filter acts based on, acts upon the oscillators based on what specifications of the envelope are on it. If you apply it to an oscillator, it'll affect the pitch. You can also affect LFOs with it, but we won't get into that. LFOs also produce change over time, but cyclically, as opposed to a set of times that you dictate. You more just dictate a speed in which you want it to affect, and it will affect it cyclically. Okay, so we have two oscillators on this. The first, or on both we can choose either square or saw. A square sounds like this. Hold on, I have to shut off the second one. Alright, cut off. All the way open. Okay, so this is a square. I like saws. This is a saw. Now we have another oscillator. So this is the first oscillator. We chose this voice for it. You can change the range with options 13 through 16. I have all mine on because I like it full. The next oscillator, 22, is also a saw, but we're going to turn up the level. Now you can hear them together. I have them detuned a little bit. Here's them completely in sync. Very thin. Kind of nice though. One detune, a little bit more, and full. See, that's thick, you know. Alright, so we got our bass sound. Now it's time to run it through the filter. So the filter, you have to set a cutoff point. I have it set to max so you can hear all the frequencies. If I lower that, it's number 41, you will hear less of the higher frequencies because this filter on the Poly 800 is a low pass filter, so it only allows the low frequencies to go through. So as I lower the frequency, you hear less treble, so to speak. So it's more bassy. You can also add resonance, but that's not pertinent at the moment. So I'm going to leave it at about 50. Now, it's time to make an envelope for the filter. So the envelope evokes change over time, basically by what points you set. On the Poly 800, it's a little bit different. Instead of having attack, decay, sustain, and release, we have attack, decay, breakpoint, slope, sustain, release. So you have another option. I don't find much use for that. So what I do is I set the decay point to max, the breakpoint to max with sort of a attack, sustain, release type thing. So it's sort of a trapezoid, if you will. So I have that set right now. I just have to set the envelope intensity on number 45 to max. Now the envelope I created on DEG3, which is dedicated to the filter, is sort of a blooming thing. So here. You hear it bloom open like that. I set the attack to, on the envelope, DEG3, which is dedicated to the filter, to longer. I set it to 26 out of 31. So the filter opens up slower. If I set it to 31, it'll take a long time. And then I set everything else to max other than release, so that once it reaches its full attack, it stays at its full cutoff. The release, you can set. In this case, it doesn't really matter because I don't have any release on the oscillators. So let's go ahead and do that. We have two envelopes, one for the first oscillator and another for the second. So I'm going to set both of the releases on those to longer so that when I let go of the key, the oscillators will still sound afterward. You can hear one of the oscillators is ringing out. Alright, change the second oscillator. Now both are ringing out. If I let them ring out for a long time, say 26, you hear that? They're still ringing out. Now when I change the envelope for the filter, the release on the envelope for the filter actually has something to act upon. Before, when I was hitting the key and I didn't have a release set on the first two envelopes, the oscillators weren't making noise, so the filter, even though I had a release on the envelope for the filter, it wasn't acting on anything because there was no noise. So now when I change the release, I change the attack back. There it goes. When I let go of the key, the filter goes back. See, it opens up and it's back to low pass. Now if I lower the release, or raise the release, see, when I let off my finger, it stays open for a bit and then closes because I increased the release on the envelope for the filter. If I set it to all the way, it just won't close back, it'll just open and stay open. The Poly is fucking awesome for pads because it's got the mono filter. It just applies to the whole damn thing no matter what's going on. So, here's something. Set the attack to longer and get a good impending. It's so hot sounding. Okay, so if I add a little bit of resonance, you get a sort of nice sweep. It's nice. So I'm putting 10. Now the attack is a little slow on the envelope on the filter for that to be heard correctly. So I'm gonna lower that a bit. 26. And I'll put the resonance all the way. Why not? We're ambitious. I like it a bit more modest. That's a good patch right there. So that's how you think about it, really. You set your oscillators, set the range, pick the waveform, set the octave, so that you get a nice sound going in. You think about how you want the filter to act upon those. You make an envelope based on that idea. You know, how you want it to open. Do you want it to stay open? Do you want it to close off quickly? You set that up to the filter. You turn the intensity on the filter up so that it actually affects it. And then you make envelopes for the pitch or the oscillators as well, so they sound based on how you want. You know, do you want them to sound quickly? Do you want them to slowly sound in? It's the same thing. You just think about it, and then figure out how you can make an envelope to do that. So that's how you program a synth. Have fun. Make some of these. Be Duran Duran. You're wonderful.